this is about as good a lineup as maybe they've ever had, certainly in Jerry's era. I gained confidence in what we saw out of the rotation. You saw the first 3 starts against the A's. Every starter gave up just 1 run. 3 games in a row of just 1 run from your starters. And Wu was spectacular. Gilbert was spectacular. Kirby was solid. He was good. Only gave up 1 run. Did walk 3, but they did what they weren't doing on the road. I think that gave everybody a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a sigh of relief, if you will, because it was amazing to see them get lit up on the road the way that they did. So for them to come home and do what they did as a rotation through the whole homestand for the most part, with the exception of Castillo, gives me a lot of confidence. Now they got to go on the road and prove it, because it's amazing the disparity between the numbers at home for this rotation versus on the road. And yes, it's a pitcher's park, but the disparity is pretty big, bigger than normal. So they need to get that short. You got 28 games to go as we speak right now. They got to get that short up. They've got to be able to bridge that gap a bit. First time we've had a chance to catch up with him in person. He's a really direct, just matter-of-fact kind of guy. I don't know if he smiled at any point during the conversation. And in fact, a couple of times when Dave and I would laugh at a response from him, he would almost look at us like, what's so funny? What are you laughing at? But he's a good dude. He's just got a very serious, focused demeanor. And what stood out to me is that I asked him about hitting at T-Mobile Park. And I said, well, obviously it's a hitter's park. Some people don't like to hit here. How do you feel about it? And he gave me kind of a weird look, and he just said, really? Hitter's park? He seemed to be oblivious to that. I thought he was messing with me, but I don't think he was. And then went on to say how much he likes hitting here. And that's huge. How often do you hear somebody that's not on the team from the minors on up, coming from a different area, saying, yeah, I love hitting at T-Mobile Park. Maybe Mike Trout. But that would be it. So, yeah, it's somebody that I think fans are hoping sticks around. He's a free agent at the end of the season. And how big is that to hear somebody like that say, yeah, I love hitting here. And then the other thing that stood out was some about just the fan response, because fans are texting into the show saying, they better re-sign this guy, he's perfect, and blah, blah, blah. And asked him if he had a sense of how the fans felt about him. And he went on to just sort of, gush over the fan base and the energy in the building, and talked about his family even commenting on it. So, I don't know, for those of you out there that are interested in him returning and being re-signed by the Mariners, I would say those are 2 really good signs. Now, if you go on a nice playoff run with it, even better, because that guy is all about winning. That's all he cares about. So if he feels like he's in a situation where we have a chance to win, I love hitting here, I love the fans, that seems like a great recipe. We saw them, as good as the homestand was, you feel like, man, they could have won another game. Maybe they could have swept the homestand. I mean, they lost the one in extra innings. Then they got in the hole early with Castillo giving up 5 runs. They battled back to take the lead. Caleb Ferguson comes in, it doesn't go well. Bullpen blows that game for him. But, having Bizzardo do what he's done, and he does it day after day after day. He's not perfect. He's like everybody in that pen. They've had moments where they've given it up. But he's been a guy that my confidence in him has grown as the season has gone on. And I don't have that tension when he comes into the game that I have with some other relievers, like, hang on tight, let's see what happens. So he's been phenomenal. If you can get Hancock, and I don't know what their plan is for his role. He feels like he'd be a great long inning guy, obviously. He's been a starter, he's stretched out, but they were just having him throw 1 inning in AAA. So is he going to be a leverage guy? Are they going to put him in some light spots early to get his feet wet at this level as a reliever? Is it going to be 1 inning here, 1 inning there? I don't know what the plan is, but it feels like he'd be a great long guy. If somebody gets knocked out early, that he could eat up 3 innings, 4 innings perhaps. But I did like that we heard about his velocity ticking up, hitting 99 in AAA. That's not what we saw from him as a starter. So it's pretty enticing. Don't exactly know what their plan is going to be for him, but he seems like a really, really attractive option in that bullpen, whether it's 1 inning or if it's long relief. It's coming at the perfect time. As we said, 28 games to go. Every one of them means the world. And we've talked about it when Cal was on his tear through the majority of the season. He needs help. You got to have other guys stepping up. Well, now you've got Julio, who's been red hot since the All-Star break, and having Arozarena do what he does with he's got some really timely home runs, and he seems to have a knack for the big moment. You've got other guys chipping in along the way. Obviously, Naylor feels like he gets at least a base hit every single game. We saw Rayleigh come up with a big hit. So everybody's chipping in, and to have somebody with the pop that Gino does and the threat that he brings up to the plate is huge. It lengthens the lineup. You look at it and you go, there aren't really any holes in this lineup. Yeah, there are guys who are going to be hot and cold for stretches at a time, but top to bottom, if you're the opposition, you're trying to see, all right, maybe it's Cole Young at the bottom of the lineup when he's in there, but you don't really, and he puts up great at-bats. He makes that pitcher work. So there aren't any spots in this lineup as we sit where you feel like, man, I wish they had a different option, a better option there. This is a deep lineup, and what Gino doing, what he's doing right now, along with Julio, along with Cal and Arozarena and Naylor, this is about as good a lineup as maybe they've ever had, certainly in Jerry's era. I think they got to win each series. I know that's a big ask, especially considering what happened on the last road trip, which was a disaster. Yeah, these are teams you should beat. Now, Cleveland has been kind of hovering around the wild card chase. I think they're 5 games out as we speak. They hit a serious speed bump. Tampa is always a problem. The Braves you should beat. That's a team you look at and go, yeah, you're on the road, you're on their home field, you should win that series. So, look, if you could take 5 and 4 on a 9-game road trip, you're going, I'll take it. That's a winning road trip. I'm a little greedy here because you've got to keep pace. It seems like every time the Mariners win, the Astros win, and Boston wins, and the Yankees win, and all these teams that are commingling in the wild card, you're going for the division. So you've got to keep pace with those teams, and hopefully you can get 6. I'm being greedy, but you get 6 of 9. That is a huge, huge success.